What manga storylines will never get an anime adaptation? Imagine discovering a manga that captivates you with its story and art, but then realizing it might never become an animated show. That's a question many fans ask when they see certain manga remain as manga only. Some stories stay in the pages because they don't fit well with animation or face other hurdles. Let's look at why some manga storylines never get an anime adaptation. First, some manga relying heavily on storytelling styles that don't translate well into animation. For example, slice-of-life manga like Yotsuba and other minimalistic stories focus on subtle humor and quiet moments. These stories depend on the reader's imagination and pacing, so adding animation might take away from their charm. Similarly, manga with silent protagonists or experimental narrative techniques like Goodnight Pun Pun can be tough to adapt. Their emotional depth and internal monologues are hard to show visually without losing impact. Next, highly detailed or unconventional artwork can make adaptation difficult. Manga with intricate art styles or heavy use of visual symbolism might be too costly or complicated for studios to animate properly. For instance, manga with very complex character designs or experimental visuals might not be feasible to reproduce within typical animation budgets. This can lead to adaptations that don't do justice to the original art, discouraging studios from taking on the project. Financial and popularity factors also play a big role. Even if a manga is critically acclaimed, it might not get an anime if it doesn't have a large enough fanbase or sales. Producing an anime is expensive, and studios prefer manga with proven commercial success. If a manga remains niche or has low sales rankings, the chances of an adaptation drop significantly, no matter how good the story is. Content can also be a barrier. Some manga contain themes or content that are difficult to adapt for mainstream audiences. Psychological horror or deeply philosophical stories might be considered too intense or complex for television. Censorship and audience sensitivities can prevent certain stories from making it to the screen. Finally, completed manga often stay manga, only if no plans for adaptation are announced. If the series ends and no studio shows interest, it's unlikely to change later. Without official plans or strong commercial backing, these stories tend to stay in print only. Examples of manga unlikely to get anime adaptations include Goodnight Pun Pun, because of its experimental storytelling and emotional depth. Yotsuba remains manga, only because its episodic and minimalistic style doesn't lend itself well to animation. Dinosaur Sanctuary faces challenges due to the high costs of animating realistic dinosaurs. Animal Land, despite praise, struggled financially, making adaptation less likely. Veil, which focuses on mood and art rather than a strong plot, also remains manga only. Some manga like Vagabond, known for its detailed historical and martial arts scenes, haven't been adapted because of the high costs and difficulty in faithfully recreating complex fight scenes and period details. These stories often stay manga, only because their artistic and thematic complexity makes adaptation a challenge. In the end, stories that are highly experimental, artistically complex, niche, or financially unviable tend to stay in manga form. The decision to adapt depends on balancing artistic fidelity with practical and commercial factors.